Well, an interesting allegation into Hunter Biden's laptop has come out of a testimony to Congress last week. Two whistleblowers from the IRS detailed various allegations in a closed meeting to the House Ways and Means Committee. Chairman Jason Smith explained the main things that came out of the meeting.
There are three areas of focus in the transcripts of interviews with whistleblowers. Number one, the federal government is not treating taxpayers equally when enforcing tax laws. Number two, whistleblowers claim the Biden Department of Justice is intervening and overstepping when it comes to the investigation of the president's son. And number three, these whistleblowers report they have faced almost immediate retaliation.
The main whistleblower who was unmasked last month is Gary Shapley, who was the supervisor on the IRS's investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes. He had been leading the probe since 2020. The second IRS whistleblower had been an agent on the investigation since it began in 2018. Last week, after a long and drawn-out, nearly 5-year investigation, the president's son reached a plea deal with the Justice Department. Papers filed in a federal court in Delaware indicate that Hunter Biden will plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges of failure to pay in 2017 and 2018. Mr. Shapley and the second whistleblower's testimony made bombshell allegations of preferential treatment, conflicts of interest, and a slow-walked investigation in the interest of the president's son. While Republicans are furious over this sweetheart deal made, another interesting allegation has come out of it. That being that Gary Shapley says the FBI verified Hunter Biden's damning laptop in November 2019, 1 year before the 2020 presidential election. This discarded laptop that Hunter Biden left at a repair shop in Delaware was a tangled web of dodgy overseas business deals and personally incriminating photos and videos of the then Democratic presidential candidate's son. The New York Post broke the story on October 14, 2020, just 3 weeks before the presidential election, but it was wildly passed off as disinformation. 5 days after the story broke, more than 50 former intelligence officials signed a letter doubting the credibility of it. The letter read that the laptop contents had all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. If we are right, this is Russia trying to influence how Americans vote in this election, and we believe strongly that Americans need to be aware of this. Most mainstream media dismissed the story, fearful it was a product of Russian disinformation, until March last year when the New York Times and the Washington Post finally verified some of the content. But according to Gary Shapley, the FBI knew that this laptop was real and have subsequently let this fake news narrative run rampant before an election. Gary's testimony reads, in October 2019, the FBI became aware that a repair shop had a laptop allegedly belonging to Hunter Biden and that the laptop might contain evidence of a crime. The FBI verified its authenticity in November of 2019 by matching the device number against Hunter Biden's Apple iCloud ID. When the FBI took possession of the device in December 2019, they notified the IRS that it likely contained evidence of tax crimes. He also expresses that during his time working on this investigation, he and his IRS team of agents were excluded from seeing various pieces of evidence, including the laptop, despite the fact that the FBI had notified them it could include tax crimes. On October 19, 2020, I emailed Assistant United States Attorney Wolf, "We need to talk about the computer. It appears the FBI is making certain representations about the device, and the only reason we know what is on the device is because of the IRS CI search warrant that allowed access to the documents." He asked to be looped in on whether there has been a search warrant executed on the device, stating he needs to be briefed on the issue. My email led to a special meeting on October 22, 2020 with the prosecution team and the FBI's computer analysis team to discuss Hunter Biden's laptop. We once again objected that we still had not been given access to the laptop. Assistant US Attorney Leslie Wolf stated that she would not have seen it because, for a variety of reasons, prosecutors decided to keep it from the investigators. This decision is unprecedented in my experience. Investigators assigned to this investigation were obstructed from seeing all the available evidence. It is unknown if all the evidence in the laptop was reviewed by agents or by prosecutors. Based on guidance provided by the prosecutors on a recurring basis to not look into anything related to President Biden, there is no way of knowing if evidence of other criminal activity existed concerning Hunter Biden or President Biden. Later in the testimony, Gary Shapley mentions the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop while being questioned by one of his lawyers, Mark Lytle. Mr. Lytle questions Mr. Shapley on his knowledge of if the contents could be inauthentic or doctored. Shapley's answer is, The computer guy said that they could do a CSV list that shows when everything was created and that the laptop was returned to original when they, yes, so I mean the whole discussion was about, can we rely on this information on the laptop? Is it Hunter Biden's? And their opinion was, and it was not manipulated in any way. Mark Lytle's follow-up question is, it was reliable evidence. That is correct, Mr. Shapley responded. Gary Shapley's attorney, Tristan Leavitt, weighed in on his client's testimony on Fox News.
But this case was handled differently than any he'd ever seen in his 14-year career. And so he felt that certainly Congress needed to know and understand how this case was developed, and obviously Congress made the decision in voting to release the information that the American public deserved to see this. So a lot of this information, I think, has rightly surprised the American public. It's disappointing to see that some individuals, of course, Hunter Biden's defense attorney is out there, making statements vaguely threatening to our client.
Despite the fact that Gary Shapley is alleging the FBI have known for years that the laptop is authentic, Director Christopher Wray refused to say that in March this year while he was testifying at a House Intelligence Committee hearing.
Do you believe the Hunter Biden laptop story is disinformation?
Well, I want to be careful about, there is an ongoing investigation that is relevant to that, so I have to be careful of what I can share on that here.
Do you believe the Hunter Biden laptop story is disinformation?
I don't think there's anything I can share on that in open setting.